G'day everyone. In this video I'm going to run through everything you need to know to set up your baitcaster fishing rod. Rightio folks, this is my main Murray cod rod, my Venom 6kg baitcaster, and I'm going to be putting a Daiwa Tatula reel on here, and I'm going to be spooling it up with 50-pound Daiwa J-braid line. Now you may have seen recently that I purchased a new baitcaster reel. Here it is. This is the Daiwa Tatula reel. The first thing I need to do when setting this up is to put this on the rod, and that's really easy. There's always going to be a what they call a reel seat on the rod here. I'm just going to put that in there and then screw that on. Now that varies from rod to rod. Some have a top and a bottom, some just have a bottom, some like this one just have a top. So the bottom hole's fixed, it just slides in, then you screw the top on. That's pretty self-explanatory. So there's the rod and reel set up. Now I've got to put some line on it, and this is the bit where there's a few things you need to know. Now the line that I'm going to be putting on my new reel is Daiwa J-braid. I'll see if I can bring that in a bit closer and get it to focus on there. 50-pound Daiwa J-braid, and I'm using the green colour. My other reel at home has got the multicolour one on, and that works fine, but this time around I bought the green because that's what was on the shelf. Now the easiest way to do this, you can put way too much thought into this and you can make this way too technical. I like to keep things simple. What I'm going to do, I'm going to grab the end of the line, then I'm just going to throw the spool on the ground. Just throw it on the ground to roll around. Now, I'm going to thread my rod from the top all the way down to the reel. Now just remember, there are a number of different ways you can do this. You can even get little gadgets, you can get little vices and clamps, and you can get someone to hold the spool with a bloody pencil inside it. There are so many ways you can do it, but this is the way that I like to do it, and it's the way that is probably the easiest to do it when you're on your own. Now I'm standing on a rocky, on the edge of a road here, a dirt road, and it's quite rocky, and I do have to say that you're probably best to do this on grass, particularly with braided line, just in case the line rubs on a rock when you're reeling it in and puts a bit of a fracture in it. I don't think it's super critical, but if you have the opportunity to do it on grass, I think grass will be better. Right, now I'm down to my reel. Now let's see if I can focus in on the reel here. At the front of the reel, you'll see the level wind, the bit that's moving across left to right there. I need to pass my line through the level wind. I've never used one of these reels. It's actually got a, for the record, this is my first ever Daiwa Tatula and only my second ever Daiwa baitcaster, so I've never actually done this. But anyway, I've passed it through, you'll see there. So it goes through the level wind and onto the reel. Now, this is the most important thing that you need to remember. Yeah, it's very important that the line does not slip. That part in there, that round bit, that's called the spool. If you tie braided line of any kind, straight to the spool, what will happen? The spool will slip inside the line. The line won't grip the spool. So you need to do two things. Either put backing on, put a length of monofilament line, maybe 20 or 30 metres or as much as you want, because the monofilament will grip the spool, whereas the braid won't. So you can put monofilament line on the bottom and then tie a knot in the line, tie the mono to the braid, and then run your braid on. Or if the spool is fluted like this, you can see in there it's got those little holes carved out of the spool. If a spool's fluted, you can, and it's very hard, but you can pass the line through the hole and actually tie the line to the spool. Rather than tying it around the spool, pass it through the line and tie it to the spool so that it is impossible for it to slip, and that's what I'm going to do right now. Alright, got it. Sometimes that can be quite a fiddly job to do that, but I've got it. If you look there now, you will see that the line has passed through one of those holes on the spool. Now what I need to do is just tie any kind of knot. Any kind of knot will do. It doesn't have to be a fancy knot, that's just got to be a knot that it's going to hold and not slip. I'm just going to do like a, I'll do the triple granny. No, I'll go the quadruple granny. Right, there's my knot. You can see there now, it's not a fancy knot, it's just a granny knot, or 3 or 4 half hitches. I'm going to get my knife and cut that tail off, and then I'm right to spool it up. Right, where's my big long tail? This tail doesn't have to be cut overly short because it will get buried anyway. Right, so the tail's short, it's about ½ an inch long, you can see there, and that's okay because that will get buried anyway. Now, some people prefer to put the monofilament backing on, and some prefer just to tie straight to the spool. There's 2 reasons you should put mono underneath your braid on a baitcaster reel. One is so that you don't need as much line to have a full spool. So you might want to half fill it with mono and then put braid on the top. The other is to stop the line from slipping, as I mentioned earlier. Me personally, I prefer just to run straight through, 1 knot at this end, 1 knot at that end. That way you don't have any knots in your line and you don't run out of line unexpectedly when you're out the river fishing. That's just my personal preference. Now the final bit is to reel the line on. And I'm going to show you how to do that, and it's not very technical. Rightio, now I've moved back from the camera a little bit here. I've stepped back to give myself more space. Now, my spool is out there, it's tied to my reel. What I need to do now is reel it on. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to untangle it from the branch just there. Right, all I'm going to do, I'm going to put my rod up against my thigh like that. I'm going to pinch the line between my thumb and my index finger. Then I'm just going to reel it in. Now, I know people are probably going to ask, how much pressure do you put on? That's something that you just pick up with experience. I've got quite a bit of pressure between my thumb and my index finger. You've got to be careful. You can burn your fingers like this if you're not careful. You can build up friction, but so far that's not a problem. Right now, the reel, it's running. Sometimes it runs, the spool's actually under my feet now it's going back over that way, and that doesn't matter because all the control is between my thumb and finger and the reel. What happens that end, as long as the line comes off the spool, is irrelevant. And there we have it, all spooled up. Now the only thing left to do is get my knife, cut the line, and tie my line clip on. I'll do that now. Rightio, now my reel is spooled up, it's on the rod, everything's ready to go. All I need to do now is tie on a line clip. Now something that is going to be raised in the comment section below without a doubt, because it always is the use of a leader. Should I be tying a leader onto the end of my line? This is personal choice. By not using a leader, which I never do, you are risking losing a big fish. Murray cod have got very sharp teeth, like serrated teeth, and they will gouge through that line and break the line a lot easier than they will a leader. Also, if you're fishing in a rocky area, the rocks will fray braided line much quicker than they'll fray a leader. So you probably should. My theory is, if you're out fishing and you hook the biggest fish of your life and you lose it, are you going to be able to sleep tonight? If the answer is no, because you're going to lay in bed and dwell on it, then you should use a leader. For me, if I go and lose a 100-pound cod now, I'm going to go home and have tea and go to bed and sleep like a baby. So I'm happy to run the gauntlet and not use a leader. I just like to keep things simple. But if you're serious, if you take your fishing really seriously and you don't want to lose a fish, you should use a leader. Now this is the knot that I use. I call it a double blood knot. Basically I fold the line in half. I don't do this for monofilament line, I only do this for braided line. I fold the knot in half like that. I poke it through the line clip at the right end. I went the wrong way, like that. So that's sitting over the doubled line. I then wrap that around 3 or 4 times. 3 times is probably enough with thick line like 50-pound braid. Pull it back through, then I poke that back through again. I pull it tight like that. Then I grab the line clip and I pull the whole lot tight. And what that will leave you with is your big tail and a little loop at the end. Then I'll get my scissors, my knife, and I will cut all them tails off. And that's my knot done. I call this a double blood knot. There it is there. I'll see if I can try and focus on it for you. It's going to be a bit tricky, but there's my knot there. You'll see it's got 3 little tails at the end. That is the knot that I use, and that is as strong as buggery, that knot. That is as strong as you'll get. It's being such a small item, focusing is an issue. That is as strong as you get. I'm using a mustard fast ash clip. These are my favourite clips of the lot and the best clips I've ever used for Murray cod fishing. I love them. So there you go, folks. That rod is ready to go. That rod and reel, there's the reel there now. It's all spooled up. You don't want to over-spill it. It's harder to over-spool a baitcaster reel than it is a spinning reel, but you don't want to overdo it. You just want it nice and full so you can use it comfortably, ready to go. Rightio folks, everything's ready to go, everything's done. My spool is full, you see that? You don't want to overfill it, but you don't want to underfill it either. You want to put as much on as you can without the line actually touching the brake at the back here or any components in the reel. So you have it nice and full, that's ready to go. Now, as I said at the start of this video, there's a number of ways to do this, and this is the way that I prefer. This is my preferred technique. I'd like to think, my aim is that if somebody lands on this video as a result of an online search, how to set up a baitcaster reel or something along those lines, I'd like to think that they've learnt everything they know to get started, and then they may wish to refine their technique down the track. But hopefully this has taught you how to do it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've liked this video. If you have, why not hit the subscribe button, and hopefully I'll see you in my next fishing video.